Okay, so this is part 2, the rough-in phase, which is indirect painting. So you start off with your underdrawing, and this is just in pencil, and it's very loose, very gestural. You're not going for perfection here, really. You're just going for proper placement, proper scale. Of course, right here I make an improper scale of the cup, way too big, and I'm going to have to shift that around later. But it's okay. All of these initial phases are meant to be a bit looser, a bit less obsessive compulsive in attitude. And I think that that's a good thing, because it just means you can relax. You don't have to be so precious with things, knowing that the process is going to allow you to get more or less tight, depending on whether you're going for something expressive or whether you're going for something that's hyper-realistic. So have fun with this part. I'm not counting teeth or anything, or eyebrow hairs in the face jug. Nor would you if this was a real person's face you were dealing with. It would be just about getting the kind of structure down. Alright, now I'm pulling out my palette. You want to make sure that you have a clean cup of water and a dirty cup. The clean cup is to have water to thin out your black paint with, and the dirty cup is to clean your brush once you start mixing grays. So the first thing I do is I block in, or rough in, my darkest darks. Now, is that pure black? No. That's because the reserve, the white of the canvas, is showing through the thinness of the layers. I have added a little water just to make the paint more fluid, because when you first squeeze it out of the tube, at least with this type of paint, it's in a heavy body consistency, meaning that it's very thick and buttery, almost like sour cream instead of heavy cream. So you add a little water to make it flow better. And again, I'm just moving around the composition, looking for my darkest darks. Now, I know that in between the teeth is not dark, but I want it to be. Now you'll notice there, as I moved up from my initial laying down of paint, the paint became thinner, so more of the reserve shone through. That's called scumbling. That as opposed to what I've just done, which is add water to the black, which makes it more of a middle gray. That's creating a wash. And I'm just working with the local colors here. So the local color of the cup, the local color of the shadow on the face, the local color of the eye socket. Now you'll notice here that I go back over the black with that middle gray tone, and it doesn't move. That's because it's dry. Acrylic paint dries in about 5 minutes, fully cured after about an hour. Depends on how thick you put it on, of course. This is a relatively thin application. Again, I'm scumbling. As I brush it out, it becomes thinner, and by making it thinner, it becomes lighter. Mixing up some dark grays. I'm going to go for a little bit of the gradation that you see in that cup. I'm not real concerned with it. Really, this rough-in phase is about setting up a pattern. You'll notice I wipe my brush off a lot. It's important to wipe your brush off. Otherwise, especially when you start getting into the grays or into a polychromatic palette, every time you mix paint with your brush, you're going to have other paint mix, and then it's going to change the color away from what you intended. Just a little bit of shading. Notice I'm leaving lots of the skull white, and I'm leaving lots of the face jug white. A little bit of texture. I'm using the side of my brush here. Flaying, or splaying I should say, the bristles gives me a nice textural, like a dry brush. Okay, so that's about where you should be for part 2, the roughen phase.